Hi guys, it's Amanda here and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, I'm blonde now, but I'm going to post a video on that later. I have something way more important to talk about and I'm kind of nervous, as you can tell, but I wanted to talk about my testimony, how I went from New Age, like occult stuff, to Christian, and I really want to share this testimony. And I know my channel isn't about that, but it's very, very important to me because I was posting videos on New Age, kind of just like slipping it in there, but I took those videos down and I will explain why. And I'm just going to explain why I'm, rededicated my life to Christ. Which sounds so weird coming out of my mouth, but there's a story to it, and I'm going to explain. I'm going to start at the very beginning, because that's where my story, like the parts of my story in the beginning align with the story towards the end, so bear with me. So number one, my story is very supernatural, and it's not here, I'm not here to incite fear in anybody, and actually I'm here to liberate some people, because I didn't know, I was so deceived that I didn't know what was going on. So hopefully I'm here to just shed some light on the lies that I was told. Basically, my story starts in Brazil. So I was born there, came here to America with my mom. At one point, we lived in this house. It was me, my mom, my brother, my grandma, grandpa, and another roommate. And that house was infested with demons. Now, I don't understand why. Still to this day, it is. But honestly, Jesus protected us through that. I wasn't that Christian back then, but trust me when I say this, that I held on to Christ like it was everything I had, because he is. But back then I didn't understand why, because the things that went on in that house were just diabolical. And I'm just going to tell you some of the stories. I have like plenty of stories, but I fast forwarded too far. When I was younger, my mom went to a pastor, and the pastor told her that I have vision, that I can see things in the spirit. Now, she didn't really understand what that meant. I obviously was a baby. I didn't know what that meant. But in that house, what I would see all the time was demons. I would see them. And it's not like what you think about like in the movies, but like people. Like just people walking through the house. And I would see flashes of them constantly, and I didn't understand. Thank goodness I didn't understand, because I would have been so afraid, and I was, but I didn't understand why. I wasn't afraid of them. I was afraid, like the fear in me was like I was just afraid of everything. And in that house, I would just see them constantly, every now and again, and it just became the normal for me. It was just normal. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but it was. It was just normal for me to see that. But I didn't understand who God was, who Christ was, and I just kind of just went on like my life. And I remember one day being in the middle of like outside, it was my playground, and I looked up to the sky and I was like, I don't know who you are. I just don't know who you are. I don't know who God is. I don't understand that. And I don't want to be a Christian. And I remember saying that, and wow, did I take my words back very quickly, because I don't know when that was, but after that, one day in that house, it was definitely Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and no, I think it was Christmas Day, because like in Latin America, we celebrate on Christmas Eve. So it was Christmas Day, everybody was asleep. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, around 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was being Secret Santa. I was putting up extra tinsel and extra presents for everybody. And I was putting up tinsel near the wall, near the hallway to the exit of the house. And it was just a small hallway, nothing crazy, about a couple feet. And I kept staring down this hallway. I did not understand why I stared down this hallway. And this would happen to me a lot, where I would just stare at things, but I didn't understand why I was staring at them. And I know you're like, well, you probably just zoned out. No, 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 no. I remember vividly, even now, I remember the boots at the end of the wall and everything in there. And mind you, everybody's asleep. Nobody is awake. And I hear my name being called in the deepest, darkest, evilest voice I could have ever possibly heard. I'm pale. I'm already pale, but I was pale. And I was standing on a chair. I flew off that chair and like banged on my mom's door. And my mom she's always grown up Christian. She knew what that was. And I was so scared, and I was like, Mom, what am I gonna do? And we laid down. We also, my mom's roommate came over. He was also Christian. He prayed for me and walked away. And I was just so frightened. But I knew in my heart that if something that evil that knows my name, if something that evil exists, then something good has to exist. God has to exist. So after that, I did experience things with the Holy Spirit, but I didn't, no one ever explained what was going on spiritually. I think a lot of the times, like in the church, like we forget to explain what happens spiritually. But I had my experiences with the Holy Spirit. Like I fell out under the presence of God once, but like only once. And that's the only time in my life that I've ever fainted. But I I can't believe that, I went through all those experiences, and I've seen people, God speak to them and, people prophesy over them, but I never fully understood God. Even so, I got baptized, and I grew up pretty much in the church, but, not fully. I never fully dedicated my life to Christ, and I want to emphasize this because I was a mediocre Christian. I never read the Bible. I didn't know any scriptures. I never listened to worship music. I went to church occasionally. I'm primarily Easter and Christmas. And every time I went to church, I wanted a word from God. I wanted to hear God speak to me personally, and I wanted him to prophesy over my life and tell me what I'm supposed to do. He's my little genie, but that's not who God is. And that's who I wanted him to be. And that's why I feel like I fell into all of these traps. But anyone can fall into any of these traps because the devil is a lie. He is a liar, and he continues to lie. And he's the father of all lies, just like Jesus said. So later on, I was, hold on one second. I'm staring down at my notes because I've written a book about what's going on in my life. But anyways, even so, even in that house, I would have spiritual dreams, and I'm a very vivid dreamer. I align a lot with the story of Joseph sometimes, but I dream, and those dreams, the dreams that I would have would be spiritual. They'd be nonsense dreams, just like anyone else has. And then they would be demonic dreams. And I remember, man, it's hard to think about this now, going back to those things, because you just want to forget. But I have to tell you guys, because if nobody else says anything, anyways, this is very important. So my demonic dreams, so I remember vividly this one dream where I would see these figures along the walls of the house that I was in, and I would scream Jesus, because at that point I knew how to claim the blood. I knew how to scream Jesus, and I knew that he was going to save me. And I remember that was the end of my dream. I would scream Jesus, and I would just be, I think I woke up, or at least I woke up and went right back to sleep. And I just I felt afraid of everything. I was very afraid, and I didn't know God, and I didn't understand God. And I want you guys to know that, like, if you ever feel afraid, or you ever feel like, heavy, or there's a presence, or you're just stuck in the middle of the night, and you wake up and it's 3 o'clock, or you're just afraid, just call out to Jesus, because that's what I do. And every time that I do, I feel a lot better. And every time that people are stuck in these situations, these crazy situations, they just call out the name Jesus, and he comes and he saves you. And you don't deserve it, I didn't deserve it, but he always does, because he's very, very, very kind. So fast forward, I'm 20 now, and I'm moving out with my boyfriend. Ha 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 ha. So Christian of you, Amanda. I know. But I move out with my boyfriend, and we move into this house. And of course, like, when you finally get to do things on your own, you realize that a lot of the things that you were doing in your house, it was just enforced by your parents. And now that you no longer are with them, there's no one to enforce that. So I wanted to do things like differently from what my mom did, and I thought that I was doing better, or starting to do good. Like, this is all in my mind, guys. This is like crazy Amanda thinking that she is better than anybody, and I was so into my ego, so into like, oh, I'm better than you, or I was just, I'll explain. So I move in with my boyfriend, and who is now my husband, and we just start jobs and start working. And I started this job, which I definitely thank God for. Every experience that I've ever experienced has led me to this point, and I'm happy that I'm here now. But in this job, I was very, very miserable. And I could just, every time I walked in there, I just felt so down and out. Like, I just felt so miserable. And the people there were very mean. They would talk bad about me. And I was no saint either. I would talk bad about other people. I would yell at other people. Like, I can't even, I would just be so angry all the time. And because of that low point that I was in, I started, for some reason, and mind you, like, I was miserable. Like, I would cry in the middle of the workday. I would cry. I would call my husband. But yeah, my husband, because we got married a few months after we moved in. At that time, it was my husband, and I would just cry, and I would be so upset at everything that was going on in my life, and I felt like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I think that a lot of people can relate to this, where you're stuck in this situation, you're stuck in this job that you hate. But a lot of the times that we don't realize is that, like, there's always going to be 3 voices talking to you. There's going to be your voice, the devil's voice, and then God's voice. And I was listening. Yeah, I think you can imagine which one I was listening to at this point. I was constantly on YouTube, trying to figure out, because I'm always, like, creative, and I always like to watch DIYs. I like to watch, like, tiny houses. Like, I don't know, I'm, like, obsessed. But at that time, I kept getting recommended law of attraction videos. And for those of you who don't know what the law of attraction is, it's hard to explain, so I might put a definition down here. But basically, it's like thinking that it's like your thoughts attract, positive and negative things, which is, to me, now that I'm, like, here with you now, I'm gonna tell you that thing is demonic through and through. Demonic. Everything that I'm about to tell you right now was straight up demonic, and it messed me up spiritually and physically and mentally. All right, so anyways, the law of attraction, I basically fell into that, and I kept thinking that as long as I'm positive with my thoughts, positive things will come into my life. And the law of attraction, I think I heard this on, like, a quote from another YouTuber, is that the law of attraction, basically, it will give you what you want. Like, the law of attraction, I'm not going to lie to you and say that it doesn't work, because it did. It did work. People would give me things. Like I would want like something, and then they would give me the cheapest version of that thing, basically. It just baffles me. Like I would go into work and I would be like, I'm gonna be on time to work, and I have this, throw positive thoughts into the universe, and I would clock in, and even though my shift started at 11, it was 11:01. I would clock in, it would be 11 o'clock, and now that you're like, oh whoa, so this law of attraction thing works. Oh my gosh, like I should try this. No, do not do this. Because who do you think the universe is? It's not God. God is not the world. God is God, and He is holy, and He's not part of the world. And sadly, I didn't understand that. And so I just thought that I was doing the Lord's work. I was like, this is the Lord. The Lord is helping me. But He wasn't. And the demons, they were just demons. Demons would literally influence people. I would be like, oh, I would be talking on the phone with my friend, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta go read this book, and somebody in front of me would be like, oh, I've heard about that book, go read that book. And I look back on that now, and I was like, wow, these people were influenced by the devil. And if you are thinking, wow, how many times have I done that to somebody? Or, because I was too, like, I was here making videos, mindful videos about meditation. I was doing yoga every single day. I was reading books left and right, and I would read books about, that were channeled material. Channeled means like, somebody is like speaking, like a spirit is speaking through somebody, and like me in the church, and I didn't realize that was demonic. Like, this is why we have to be in the Word. This is why we have to read the Bible, especially as Christians. There's so many things that can easily deceive us, and so that's why we need the Word. We need the full armor of God. So, anyways, basically what I just told you was I was into the law of attraction, and I was trying to get everyone else to be in this with me. What I didn't understand was that I was just being influenced by the devil, and I sinned against everybody. Like, let me just say that I was one of the worst. I was evil, guys. I was pure evil. Every little thing would upset me. I wanted revenge on you if you ever treated me wrong. I hated I hated everybody at one point. I hated everybody, and I was just so secluded and off to myself. I was lonely, depressed, suicidal. I would, it's just there's so much that I was into. Like, there's so much, like, sin that I was in, and it was just so heavy on me. I don't even know why. I don't even know why God would ever take me out of that, but He did. And if He could take me out of my sin and out of all the evil that I did, then He can surely help you out. So anyways, back to the point where I said that I was reading channeled material. So this is towards the end of what was happening. I had already read a ton of books, and the thing is that with being in something that is not godly, you're constantly seeking and searching for new things, and it's never enough. You finished one book and you're like, oh, that's not enough, I need more. And that's the sad thing is that you keep reading these books thinking that they're gonna make you feel better. Oh, the next one's gonna be the end all be all, but it's not. And here my Bible was collecting dust, and I didn't know that was the only book that I ever needed. So anyways, I was reading channeled material, and I'm not gonna say what these books were. I don't think that's relevant, but just any channeled material that you could think of is just garbage. I was reading that, and thank you, Jesus, for saving me, because I was so blinded. I was so deceived. A lot of the New Age beliefs, they disguise things to make you think that they're not demonic. They use words like spiritual guides. not demons, spiritual guides. Channel material. No, you are possessed. Point blank, period. You are possessed by a demon. You have no control over this. You might think that you have control over it, but you don't. And I, I was just so deceived that I just want you to hear me out. In the book, right? Because I would always read the sample of the book before I started reading the book, just to see if it was worth my time. So I was reading so many books, and at that time, the sample said, he was talking about a Ouija board, and me coming from my house and what my grandma went through. Like, my grandma was in the occult, and she would tell me these things to not be part of these things. But of course, like, you know, she could only go so far of what she knew, but the New Age is different. You know, the New Age is new lies here. So she knew that the Ouija board and all that stuff, and I knew because of her to not mess with those things. So when I heard Ouija board, I immediately was like, okay, this is demonic. I don't want to deal with it, right? But I was so deceived. And remember that phone call I was talking to you about? Yeah, that was the same phone call that when I was about to read that book, I was like, I don't know. I was talking to my friend Deb. Deb, I'm pretty sure you remember this conversation. I was talking to my friend Deb, and I was like, Deb, I don't know if I should read this book. And then the guy in front of me was like, no, you should read that book. So guess what I did? I read the book. Because I was like, oh, this has to be God or something talking to me, because now I have to read this book. And I started reading the book. And I can't believe that I would read this book. Like, I can't even imagine. Anyways, it's an audiobook, and I was listening to this spirit talk, and my life was not in good standing, but this book was just this is the beginning of the spiral that I started, like, down rock bottom. So I started reading that book, right? And in the meantime of all of this, I was lucid dreaming. So I started to lucid dream. But remember, like how I told you that I would have spiritual dreams, demonic dreams, and just regular nonsense dreams. Even through this time, God was still there. And I want you guys to understand that even if you are in sin, that you are nothing and you are worthless, God is still there, and He cares about you. And He gave me a dream, and I did not understand what that dream was at the time, but I understand it now. But back then, I was searching for a different meaning in that dream. In this dream, right before all of this went down, right before all of the, right before I understood what I was doing, and what I was doing was demonic, I had a dream where I was like waist deep in water, and there was a serpent wrapped around my arm that uncoiled and swam away from me. And I woke up from that dream, and in the same dream, I got pulled underwater. Because remember, I told you I was lucid dreaming, and in that same dream, I got pulled underwater. And in that dream, like from afar, like there was something that was shape-shifting, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't want to look at it either. But I was trying to say something in my in my dream, but in real life, I knew that I was opening my mouth, but I couldn't say anything. I just, it was almost like a groan almost that I said, and then I woke up. And what I didn't realize at that time was that that dream meant that the serpent was gonna finally uncoil from my body, that finally I was gonna be set free, and I was not going to be influenced by the devil anymore. And I was searching up meanings online. Of course, like I found like junk meanings. Like there was one that was like, oh, it's because of like the sexuality and the serpent, blah blah blah. And I was like, what? Okay, but that's not what that meant. And for God to tell me that, even when I was in sin like that, like it still baffles me to this day. But anyways, I was listening to this book, right? And listening to this book made me want to, like, because it talked about everything that I was and everything that I was already in. I was already in the law of attraction. It talked about meditating. A lot of the books talked about yoga. That's why any of those things to this day I don't do anymore. And I know that you guys are like, ooh, why don't you do that? It's just, for me spiritually, I just don't do it anymore. It's just not good. A lot of my friends will still do it, and I try to talk them out of it. And of course, like, I'm like the crazy, like, crazy Christian lady now. But I was into that, all of that stuff, and all that stuff. It never brought me any peace. It never brought me. It never made me feel any better. You know, we do meditation for mindfulness, but I wasn't mindful at all. I was just so down and out all the time. And even though I would meditate and, you know, I would feel better for a minute, it was just so counterfeit. It was so just a fake peace and a fake joy, you know. But I'm like, always get sidetracked. Excuse me, guys. After listening to that, it started making me more spiritually hungry. After I read that, like, I never finished the book. I read a couple chapters. Thank goodness I never finished the book, because honestly, I don't know where I'd be if I did. After I started reading that book, I was just so spiritually hungry. I wanted a spiritual awakening so badly. And I started looking up how to open my third eye. And I was like, I want to open my third eye. Oh my gosh. So I did a bunch of research on it, read some articles about it, would watch videos about it. And there was one video that I was watching. And she was talking about opening her third eye. And she said it was scary. And I was like, wow, why would opening your third eye be scary? And she's like, she saw faces on the walls. And immediately, I went back to the dream that I had when I was in that house about those figures on the walls. Now I had to scream the name Jesus. And it was like instantly, mind you, this is the middle of the workday. Like, I was on break, I was watching this video, and then this revelation came to me in the middle of the workday. And it's like, honestly, like, my eyes were like this and somebody did this. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then everything just came and hit me all at once. Everything I was doing was demonic. And as soon as that happened, because remember, guys, like, I was already baptized. It's like the Holy Spirit, scriptures that I hadn't read in years. And mind you, I never read the scriptures. Like, I tried, but like, I never did. It's like, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through me. And those scriptures just bubbled up in me. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus, like, I've been doing wrong. And that day, I could not function. You think that you have this control over all these things, all these beings, and all, you have control, you know, because of the law of attraction. You consider yourself your own God, and you fall for the same lie that Eve did. I'm like, come on. You're not, like, I was so out of control. I got to work, I went back to work, and I couldn't finish my sentences. That's how heavily influenced I was. You know, because I work in retail, customers would come up to me, and they would say, I need this, and I was like, huh? Like, I couldn't talk. And everyone kept coming up to me, are you okay, Amanda? Are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. And my husband picked me up. And this is the funny thing, is that, mind you, my husband, even till this day, he is not a believer, but he was scared out of his mind. When I came into the car, I explained everything that had happened. And he was like, okay, well, let's get home. And I was like, yeah, we gotta get home, we gotta pray. I gotta call my mom. He's like, don't call your mom, she's gonna freak out, you know. My mom, mind you, had been praying for me the whole time. Thank you so much, Mom, you're great. And it's great to have a Christian mom. But anyways, so my husband was like, okay, just calm down. I was freaking out. I was freaking out. And mind you, we were in the car. You know, it's not like we had a big SUV. Like, I had a two-seater car, and we were like very close to each other. I turned my head to look out the window, and my husband screamed my name. And I was like, what? And I was like, I couldn't hear him calling my name. He had been calling my name. I couldn't hear him. I burst out into tears, and I was like, this is, oh my goodness, what have I done? Came home, and we prayed, both him and I. We kneeled down, we prayed. I said, God, forgive me. I didn't even know what I had done, but it just came out. Like, I knew exactly what I was talking about. I was like, Lord, forgive me for worshiping myself, for worshiping other idols. Forgive me, God. And God is very good. He forgave me for everything. And I'm telling you guys that, like, even through all the deceit, I saw the light, and I hope that you do too, because, you know, people think that a lot of the church doesn't see God as like a spiritual being. I never saw him as that. Ever since then, I see God as so spiritual and so holy that I don't even know what to say. And I never saw that before, but now I do. I've never seen him. I've never experienced, seeing him. A lot of people have, but I've only experienced the dark side, and I've seen how evil things are. So I'm like, if that's evil, then I can't even experience holy. And for me to come out of that, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, because after that prayer, going to sleep was hard. And remember those beings that I used to see at the old house. Mind you, I had moved out of that house a long time ago too. I started seeing those beings again around my house, and that was crazy to me. It was crazy to me because I was like, I hadn't seen those in years, and to see them again, and I was like, no, Lord, not again. And I started praying and fasting. There's there's a part where you just have to like clean out all that stuff, and it was a process, guys. Like, I was tormented by those spirits. Once you realize what you have done, those happy-go-lucky spirits, mind you that I had never seen them while I was in the New Age, but they were always there. And then finally, they reared their ugly heads. But Jesus was there to save me every single time. But I would remember, being so afraid to go to sleep. So afraid to go to sleep. And my husband, obviously he didn't understand what was going on. And thanks, Brian, for being so patient with me. But I would just cry and cry and cry. And I would just be in such turmoil about everything. But that just made me cling on to God even more. But those spirits tormented me for a while. And I think that's true for anybody who goes through this. You just go through that period where you have to that sanctification period where you have to go through that, and then it's over. It gets over for me. And God was there every time I yelled out Jesus. Those things went, they fled. They were not happy with the name of Jesus. And I remember one of my dreams, because I was so tired, guys. I wouldn't sleep. At most, I would sleep a couple hours a night. And I had this dream where I had this dream. There was me and a lady. We were in a room, and then she said something like, I have cancer. And I was like, oh, it's okay. Still in my New Age thought. I was like, oh, just be positive. And then she started cackling at me. And I immediately knew that was a demon. And in my dream, I was like, the blood of Christ compels you. And I woke up, and I was just like, I can't believe this. Those same spirits that were telling me, oh, just believe in this and you'll get everything you want. Oh, just believe in this, you'll become your own God. Oh, believe in this and you'll have wealth, prosperity, success. Um, they put up this front that they love you, that they care about you, that the authors of these books, that they love and care about you and want the best for you. And mind you, like, these authors and all of these other new age teachers, excuse me, they're deceived too, guys. Like, don't get angry with them because they're just deceived too. Well, at least most of them. Those same things will turn ugly on you. And the only person, excuse me, that could ever help you out of that is Jesus. And he helped me, and he can help you too. And if you're in this, leave your prayer requests down below. I will pray for you. And if you are in this and you didn't know what this was all about, literally, like, just go and pray. Just, if you don't know who Christ is, ask. All you have to do is ask him and he will show you, trust me. But I also want to apologize to you guys, my viewers. I don't know who will be watching this, my subscribers who have been following me for a long time. I want to apologize for leading you guys astray, putting those videos up about New Age meditation and yoga and whatnot. I just want to apologize for that, and I'm going to continue to, talk about Christ in my videos now. Talk about, my experience in the New Age. Like, this is just like the gist of what I went through. A lot of you guys want to know like a timeline. Like, I was in the New Age for like about a year. And in that time, like, I did so much damage. And like, some people have been in the New Age for like way longer. So you can see like the damage that it does to their lives. And I want to just say that God is with you. He loves you and he cares about you no matter what you've done, no matter what you're going through. That he will rescue you. And I can't do that. I can't save you. I can't convert you. Only he can. So whether or not you want to accept him, that's up to you. But I hope that you do. And from now on, I will only speak the truth in love. God bless you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.